while since I've posted. I've had a lot of things going on with my family and things have just been very difficult for me basically. But I'm back and I wanted to create some videos again. I wanted to do some makeup videos and talk about mental health and different topics. So here I am. As you can see by the title of the video, it is Children's Mental Health Week this week. And if I'm correct, I believe that the theme is about expression and individuality and having a voice. So I wanted to basically talk about this topic and talk about schools and do my makeup at the same time, but it wouldn't be a normal natural look. It's going to be something completely random. I have no idea what I'm about to do. It could turn out really badly, but the topic is important, so even if it turns out very weird, it's all about expression and individuality. So here we go. So the reason I wanted to touch on this topic is because obviously we've all been children and we've probably had varying degrees of different experiences of childhood, of school, of being at home. Back in the day, there was that saying of like children should be seen and not heard. And I think that from like a very young age, a lot of our older generation of people have kind of stuck from that because that's what they've always been told. And I think that that kind of almost, how can I put it? It demeans and belittles children and the voices that they have. And if you look back at a lot of these older generations' histories, like for my mum, she had quite a difficult childhood and a lot of things happened, and when she tried to talk about what had happened with her mum, she was sort of pushed away and told to just be quiet and not talk. And that happens a lot, and you see a lot of things come out now because children weren't given a voice, they weren't respected, they weren't given autonomy. And now, I mean, I've been studying psychology for the last 2 years and we studied like autonomy and agency and children having rights, children having voices, children having the right to express their opinion. So yeah, we bring it forward to this day, and obviously every child is, you know, a new generation to come. They are the next change makers, they are the next group of people, they're the future. And so giving them the best start in life and allowing them to be equipped with tools to express themselves and their individuality is really important. When I was in school, I don't feel like we were listened to, and I also don't feel like we were allowed to have a voice. And some people might disagree, some people had very different experiences to what I had in school. But my experience was from being, well, I was the quote-unquote nerd and geek, and I was bullied a lot from primary school I was, but what I'm talking about now kind of stems from secondary school. I was bullied a lot, I was made fun of, and when I tried to tell the teachers about these people and tried to tell them, like, you know, the cool kids, quote unquote, they were just like, oh, don't be silly, that's not a thing. And I was like, okay, I must be going mad then, because I'm pretty sure that's what I'm experiencing. These people that are, you know, calling the shots and thinking that they know everything, thinking that they can just go around treating people like crap. These, you know, young people who I have just as much right to are picking on me, making my life hard. And when I say me, I can only speak from experience. A lot of people were bullied and a lot of people were picked on and segregated. But these people were like cool with the teachers, and the teachers like loved them and were, you know, helpful and kind to them. And then when I brought up the fact that I was struggling and people picking on me, it was sort of dismissed and I was sort of shunted away. And that made me not want to go to school. It made my education really, really difficult, and it stunted my growth, you know, academically. I had such a bad experience that I had to be homeschooled. So it makes me think that there's a lot of people out there who either have to leave school, who either have to leave school and be homeschooled, have to leave school and go to a specialist school because the school they're at just aren't equipped to help them grow, help them express themselves, and help them promote their individuality no matter what their differences are. And yeah, I just feel like these things could be prevented. People, like I don't know the statistics, but young people who are experiencing bullying and extreme pressure are taking their lives, they're self-harming. And these things can be prevented if the government, if teachers, if medical professionals take the stance of how important children's voices are, listening to them. And although it's difficult to be like, right, let's take this young person and just believe everything they're saying and put their fate in their hands, these children have rights, and most children will know themselves best if you listen to them, whether what they're saying is true or not. Because I know that some children do fabricate things, exaggerate, etc. But the first step is to listen and to find the source of why they're doing this, why they're saying this, and then trying to help them in the best way possible. But the first step is listening to them, allowing them to speak, allowing them to express themselves in a way that's safe for them. So speaking about expression, when I was in school, I mean, I think it might have changed a little bit now, but back when I was in school, we weren't allowed to dye our hair, have extreme hairstyles like Mohicans. Makeup wasn't really allowed. I'm talking about sort of secondary school here. Basically, I felt like sort of individuality wasn't promoted. I think that that's a big thing for young people because they see all the stuff on social media and they're trying to figure out who they are at this young age. And when people are telling them, no, you can't do that, you can't express yourself individually, that's taking away something from them and could impact them in their daily life, because trying to fit in is really difficult, especially if you're someone who's targeted for being bullied. And sometimes when you find yourself through music or art or fashion, it's a way for you to express yourself and show your individuality. And for me, I was very different. My fashion was different, my sense of style, my music, it was all different. And although I was picked on for it, it was me, and I was unapologetically me. And I think that if people would have been allowed to express themselves more so in their own way, then perhaps it would change the way people cope with their struggles and their mental health. I know that probably doesn't make much sense, but in my head it does. And I feel like equipping children with the tools to express themselves and saying to them, you can be yourself, you can be who you want to be, providing it's not hurting anyone, I think it should be allowed. Don't get me wrong, I understand the whole not allowing secondary school children of like the first few years to wear makeup, but we have a lot of like skin conditions and stuff these days, and people are self-conscious, and if they want to wear some concealer or make their eyes feel a little bit brighter, I think that that should be allowed. I think that, there should be rules in place for not having, not showing up to school with like makeup from the band Kiss, with like big black stars on your face. But I just think that certain things, there should be allowances. Hair colour was another one when I was in school. we weren't allowed to dye our hair certain colours. And again, I understand to an extent because, you know, the school will look like a rainbow. But on saying that, the excuse of the school for not allowing children to express themselves via their hair was, oh, if you do that, you'll distract other children from learning. And I'm like, I am not convinced that that holds weight because I've never sat in class and been so, oh, I think the cat's trying to get in. I've never sat in class and been so distracted by someone's hair that I've stopped learning. The thing I've been distracted by is being picked on and being taken the mick out of. So I just had to let my cat in because she was scratching at the door, but then as soon as I opened the door she ran downstairs. So really kind of her to do that and distract me and disturb me. But yeah, so I've never been distracted by the way someone looks. Like, yes, in the street I'll admire someone for their makeup or hair, but it's never made me like ultimately distracted from what I'm doing, and so distracted that I am incompetent of doing anything else. And you know, even if makeup isn't allowed or bright hair colour isn't allowed, it shouldn't be penalised. Like, it shouldn't be, I don't know if that's the correct way of using that word, it shouldn't be told to young people that it's wrong to have those things. And I think that's something that we need to learn balance with in schools. Like, okay, if something isn't going to work because of how young the person is, and we shouldn't perhaps expose them to something so young, fair enough. But when we're talking about individuality, there's nothing from the teachers saying this is something that you can do outside of school and embrace outside of school and taking it with you as you grow up. Like, I remember one assembly that I had at school, and I think she was like can't quite remember exactly the role she played, but she was a higher up sort of teacher at my school, my secondary school. And I remember an assembly that she did, and she come on stage and she was like, she had this like fake tattoo sleeve, and I was just sort of like, okay, like, you can tell it's fake, but I thought it looked cool. I was the kind of person who loved tattoos and expression and things like that. I grew up in a family who embraced that sort of thing. And she started saying about like how bad tattoos were, and I remember she said about, she had like this slideshow, and she said like how stupid that this sleeve made her look, and that she would never be employed if she had something like that. She was saying about like tattoos that were common those days. She said about a barcode, and I was like, here we go. Because my brother's got a barcode tattooed on his arm with his birthday, which, when you think about it, probably is a little bit weird, but that's him and he wanted that, so he had it. And she said, oh, look at this stupid tattoo, this barcode, what do people think they are? And she said, like, do people think that they're worth something, like monetary value? And I was just like, what the F is she going on about? Like, why is she belittling and demeaning things? Because, you know, whether students are wanting tattoos or not, like, their family might have tattoos like mine did, and she was there on stage completely belittling and demeaning people who have tattoos. And I understand certain jobs, if you have tattoos on your hands or your face, you're probably not going to be employed. But in my opinion, if that's the case, then it's not the job for you. If a job doesn't embrace creativity and individuality and you have those values, is that the job for you? perhaps it isn't. I could be wrong, and I know that not everyone agrees with that, and I completely respect that. But for me, if a job doesn't allow me to have tattoos or piercings, then it's not the job for me, and that's just the values that I hold. Still have no idea where I'm going with this, just going with the flow. So I don't know if I've mentioned this much, but it's not something that I can talk about because of safety issues, but I'm a foster carer to my nieces and nephew, and I care about bringing them up properly, and although properly is a matter of opinion, isn't it, but I care about bringing them up to be open about the world and understanding about the type of world we live in, because I don't want them growing up shielded and hidden, or having things hidden from them, and then they get to the point where they go, what's this? Why haven't we heard about this before? And so we're very open about individuality and the kind of people that they can be if they want to be and when they want to be. And we teach them about disabilities and visible differences and things that make people different, unique, whether that's something that they've chosen to do or whether that's just something that's happened to them. And I think that that's the best way to help children grow and flourish and know who they are as a person, and then in turn be able to express themselves without feeling that they're wrong, or expressing themselves in a healthy way as well. So when we're withholding things from children, just like has happened in the past, you could have instances where perhaps people are gay and they have internalized it and held it in for so long because they've been told it's wrong, or they haven't been told about those feelings at all, and then they are scared to talk about this and express how they're feeling and who they are because they don't know how people are going to receive it. And in turn, they internalize that and it festers and it boils up, and they potentially get picked on or put pressure on at home for their behaviours, their traits, or basically hiding things and keeping it in and feeling scared about expressing who you are. It's possibly going to lead to an explosion and quite an unhealthy way of expressing and letting it out. And so again, allowing children and giving them the tools to express themselves in a healthy way and without judgment is something that is really important. I just took a little break because I started to feel quite shaky and I needed something to eat, so I took a little bit of a break, and I also recapped on Children's Mental Health Week place to be theme. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that I was sort of homing in on the topic, which is My Voice Matters, obviously how they express that voice. And so the things I've been talking about are kind of loosely connected, and I hope that you can find a way to connect those as well. But yeah, I did a little bit of extra stuff on here Honestly, I'm not confident it's looking great, but at the same time, I'm having fun doing it and I'm also expressing myself by doing it. So yeah, I've added a few little stars because it's like my name's Luna and I'm the moon and I want some stars to accompany me. I've added one of the stars like around my spot. I know that might be strange that I'm embracing a spot, but I think that in life we're made to feel like spots are flaws and they're not something that we should express and like about ourselves, but it's part of growing up, it's part of our skin, and I want to embrace it and express myself and showcase it. If I was truly given a voice at school, I think that my mental health probably would have been better. It probably would have been a lot less lonely and life would have been less of a scary place to be and to exist in. And so I think that taking this forward, people need to look at the children in their lives, whether you're a Girl Guide leader, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a nursery nurse, whether you're a scout leader, whether you're a parent, aunt, carer, foster carer, etc, etc. Giving children a voice and making them aware that their voice matters is something that could make or break them and could improve their well-being by not bottling up how they feel and also just allowing them to grow in confidence as well. I was looking at the Place to Be Instagram and there was a few videos from the children of certain schools and they were speaking about different ways to express yourself and have your voice heard, basically. And I found it really inspiring, it was really lovely. Some were talking about expressing yourself through art, music, listening to music, then like creating music. And yeah, it made me think we all have such different ways of expressing ourselves, even from such a young age, and making children realise that however they express themselves, providing it's safe, as I always say, is valid. That's kind of where individuality comes into it, I think, because I loved expressing myself through music and my style of music wasn't the kind of style that was the norm and a lot of people didn't like that. And I think that it made me scared to express myself and realise that I could express myself through that source because it was looked down upon by people, and yeah, it can impact the way someone expresses themselves if we don't give them a space for it and if we don't give them almost a place without judgment and prejudice. And I think that ensuring that that message is given in schools to students and teachers is really important. Some children can't always express themselves at home because of religious reasons or just values and beliefs that parents have, and so trying to make sure that they feel safe and heard at school is really important. It's where they spend a lot of their time and it's going to make a massive difference to their life, how they can express themselves and the way that they can do that. I think there's still a lot of judgment around how people express themselves and how they have their voice heard, because some people use mediums like performance art and things like dance and acting, but it's still this stigma around the fact that if a boy wants to dance and that's the way they express themselves, that they must be gay. And again, this is something that the narrative just needs to be changed around it. It needs to be known that it's accepted and that person needs to feel validated so that they're not suppressing how they feel. because if you're depriving a child of a method of expression and saying that it's wrong or that they're incorrect, then that's going to set them up for quite a confusing life, to be honest. It's going to make them feel like the way that they cope and the way that they express themselves isn't validated. And it's like, there was an interview with an actor on the Place to Be Instagram, and he was talking about the fact that young children and naivety is, I believe, a good thing, because they haven't experienced the stigmatization and the rules and regulations that as adults and as young adults we have been exposed to, that's told us we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't think like this, we can't think like that. And young people have got the chance to grow without that way of life, and they've got the chance, if we equip them with it, to realise that nothing can stop them and that they can express themselves how they feel they need to, without fear of judgment, without fear of not being validated. So I think that when we think of it like that, trying to limit the "you can't do this" is really important, and we need to think about a narrative around that and think about the way we speak to young people as well. Like, again, I'll use what I've just used about if a young boy expresses that he wants to do dance or shows emotions even. I've heard parents say, "Oh, don't be gay," and it's just shedding a negative light on gay as a concept, but also invalidating that person's way of expressing themselves. And I think that if adults and young people, and I suppose children as well, are mindful about what they say and who they say it to, I think that we could help change that outlook and help embed children with hope and confidence in their individuality. Another thing that has come to mind just while I was doing a few bits and bobs with my makeup is that some children won't be able to communicate. They won't be able to communicate due to neurodiversity, autism, cultural beliefs, and also things that are physical as well. So some children may be mute, and their way of communicating is going to vary from someone who can use their voice. And so again, it's our jobs as young adults and adults in general, parents, teachers, people who have influence of children, to find ways to help the child of any ability find ways of expressing themselves and having their voice heard, and just lending them a hand and giving them tools to find their own individual way. So for those who are mute, it could be finding expressions in their face, body language, or even pictures, and dance maybe as well. Just something that means that they aren't putting all of their emotions, feelings, pent-up energy into this big pot, and then that pot is boiling because life is making it boil, it's making it hot, it's making it bubble. And then eventually, if that pot's too full and these environmental influences are making it bubble, then it's going to come out and it's going to make a mess. It's not going to be nice. And that is how I see emotions and mental health struggles. If we build it up to the point where we can't get any more in, we're eventually going to explode, and it's not going to be a comfortable experience for ourselves or others. And so finding ways to express ourselves during tough times, and just in general as well, getting our emotions out in a positive way and being listened to if that's what we need as well. So overall, I think giving children a place, a space and time to find their ways of expression and then expressing themselves is extremely important. Making sure that they know that their voice matters and that their opinion matters as well is beneficial to them in order to help their well-being, but also the next steps in life, in education, in work, in growing and in finding who they are as a person. Expressing themselves is going to make that a better experience and also a more wholesome experience for them as well. Opening up a space for them to be listened to is also very important. Children are often not taken seriously, and sometimes it's great to just let them talk, ask their opinion on things, and just offer a space for them to be them and speak about what matters to them. Another really important thing is teaching other children and other young people around that it's okay to express yourself in different ways, and that there shouldn't be judgment and prejudice around those ways, and that people grow up in life and change, that people have different opinions, different values and beliefs, come from different backgrounds, follow different religions, and that we shouldn't judge someone based on how they choose to express themselves, how they choose to have their voice heard, or how they cope with things. If we can teach young children that, then I think that the next generations, and as they grow up, it will be a lot more beneficial and also a nicer world that we live in, and then hopefully they can pass that down to their next lot, their younger generation, and the next generations of young people will hopefully carry kinder values, kinder opinions, and be less judgmental. It's not incredible, but what matters is it's the way I've expressed myself whilst talking, and it's unique, it's me, and I've had fun whilst doing it. If you are a young person or you know a young person, then make sure that you open up a space for them to be listened to and that they feel valid and like they aren't being judged. Allow them to speak and have their voice heard, and make them realise that their voice matters, because I feel like it will make them find times in the future where they need to talk a lot easier, and eventually that will be passed on and it will become easier for younger people to feel validated in what they have to say and what they think about the world, about themselves, and about the things around them. Children's mental health is so important, and the sooner that we can target that and make an impact to that, the sooner we can help those children in their journey to becoming adults and helping prevent future mental illness, or preventing the mental illness from becoming worse. And for those children who struggle, that intervention could be what eases their struggle or what makes their futures brighter and easier for them. Thank you for watching my video. I know it's been a little stagnated, if that's the correct word, and honestly I've rarely worn regular makeup in the last few months due to what's going on with my family, so this is so random and so weird and not planned at all. So yeah, thank you if you've got this far, and just thanks for listening. I can't wait to create more videos and get better at makeup and hopefully inspire people and get positive messages out there and messages that need to be heard out there. So thank you so much for watching or listening. I am Luna and my channel is Burstsofautumn, and yeah, I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope that you can help make a difference to children's lives and the way that they express themselves. If you want to look more into children's mental health and the topic of Children's Mental Health Week, then you can look at A Place to Be on Instagram or their website, and they've got amazing things that can educate you, and also resources and activities for children to express their voice and promote well-being. So I will pop it on one of the next pages, so that if you haven't heard this bit or you want to be reminded, then it will be on there. But stay safe and please take care of yourself. You matter, and the next generation of people matter too, so let's try and make a positive place.